Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm with Amit Agarwal, who, just to briefly describe him, kind of started Amazon in India. It's been a long journey for you. Today you are SVP of Emerging Markets. And, the first question I want to start off with, firstly, thank you for doing this. But I think the first question I want to start off with is, I was in the US in May. I was in the UK like maybe a month ago. And I came back to India, and for some reason, I was even more inspired by India because it went from it's impossible for us to get there to it is now inevitable. So this tagline that you have, Naye India ki nayi raftar, I think everyone feels it, right? And I definitely felt it when I came back. Do you feel the same way?
I think you said we can get there. You don't need to get there. I think we are getting somewhere that could be even cooler. That's kind of what the vibe is. Because even when I come here, it's just a different energy. It's just pace is different. It's just different energy, and to that you have all the warmth that you have of India. So just to give you some context, Amazon in India actually started in 2004. I was part of the team that came here that started our remote development center. It's been 20 years, and then we started Amazon in India in 2013, which is our commerce business. And very early, we during the same time there was this vision that the Honorable Prime Minister had set up about a new digital India. This was about getting to $1 trillion digital economy, and programs such as Make in India and Skill India were getting popular. And we realized that our business priorities overlap with India's priorities. And that's how the first edition of Sambhav came about, where we said, let's solidify that in three pledges. And we pledged to digitize small businesses, create jobs, and enable exports. And we are very excited by the progress that we have seen. We've actually created 1.4 million jobs. To give you a perspective, that's 30% of all ITES sector jobs is created by Amazon. Enabled $13 billion in exports, which is about 3% of India's B2C exports if you exclude petroleum and jewelry, and digitized 12.4 million businesses. So now when I come to this edition of Sambhav, the Prime Minister's vision of a Viksit Bharat by 2047 reflects the kind of the feeling that you have. I think the notion of what developed India would be might be far richer. There might be only one such nation that is so rich in its diversity and its culture, and yet has its own definition of what developed means. And we are super excited by that. We see this as a defining moment to be participating in that vision, and that's the theme of this Sambhav, Naye India ki nayi raftar. That's what we want to cement again, the commitment that we have to that vision.
Interesting. There are two kinds of startups in India, right? One is, of course, we hear about it in the media all the time. The unicorn startup, the cash guzzler, the one that goes out and raises, $500,000 or $1 million or $100 million. But on the other side, there's the more typical, the more usual, the small business. And I don't think there's a single person in this country who's had more experience working with small businesses than you do. So I want you to paint a picture for me in 2024 compared to, when this all started, which is, let's say I was selling socks online. Paint a roadmap for me. What should I do now that I can actually build a sustainable small business with actual profits that I can take back home, not relying on anybody else's money?
Well, I think let me give you a different story, right? Because what happens is a stock startup would be a different startup, but there are several small businesses that start their journey on Amazon, trying to have a creative idea, create a product, manufacture the product, and sell it to customers. Now, typically, if you think about pre-e-commerce era, you would have to find a shelf space somewhere.
Yeah.
You would need distribution. You would need marketing. You would need all those expenses that make the cost of creating a brand both expensive and also require you to do all the muck that's not related to your core idea, the core ingenuity that you have of what you're trying to create. So there's a startup, if you will, called Skillmatics. Started 5 years ago by a couple of entrepreneurs in India. They had this vision to create toys for kids, and these were educational toys. They started on Amazon. The business in 5 years. So what happens is they have to list their products. Now they can suddenly take advantage of Amazon's distribution scale of reaching out to customers. Their products could be listed on Amazon India, Amazon US, Amazon UK, and across the world. suddenly they have access to hundreds of millions of customers.
And also global shipping.
And global shipping. All they need to do is put it in a box and shipping to one of the warehouse. We would take care of it. We would place it wherever they want to sell it. They can use Amazon ads to showcase their products to customers and drive traffic to their listings. And through that process, their business has grown 50 times in 5 years. They have opened 3 offices in the US, in the UK, and in India. They're employing hundreds of people, so that is creating jobs. And they're one of the most popular toys company on Amazon globally. So, a couple of entrepreneurs with a vision in Mumbai starting this company on Amazon could reach the world and create a brand that is manufactured in India and now a global brand. So, I think things have changed. Things have changed, and that's the power of technology, power of online, and something that makes me very proud. Like when I get a lot of emails such as these, it just makes it all worth it.
I don't know if that's ever been possible in history to be able to build a business here and then very quickly be able to say, I'm also selling in other parts of the world, right? I think that's actually phenomenal. It gives people scale from day one. And I think not just the distribution that Amazon has, but also the logistics to actually make all of that happen while you just focus on the product is phenomenal. Because I know, like the muck you were talking about, almost every small business over the last decade that I ever got the opportunity to speak to is like, there's so much muck in this, right? So I love it. I want to know what your top priorities are. I'm sure there are 2-3 things that are on your task list or something that you really want to solve, right? What is it for 2025?
If you kind of, I've been at Amazon for 25 years, and we are a very boring company. So our answers remain the same every year, because literally we focus on the same 3 things every year and every day and every moment, which is all about offering more selection to our customers, making it more affordable for them to buy products, and shipping them fast and reliably. We like to say this when you're starting a new business. If you have an idea of 2 or 3 things that your customers deeply care about, and that would not change with time, let's call them durable with time, invariant with time, I would put all my energy in investing those 3 things. And what we very early found out, thanks to Jeff Bezos, is customers 10, 20, 30, 40 years would never say, I want less selection at higher prices and slower speed. And once you kind of know that, you take it as an article of faith and put all your energy on those 3 factors. So those are my priorities. I want to add more selection for customers across the geographies that my team looks after. I want to make it more and more affordable for customers to shop and aspire for more. And I want to make things faster and more reliable. That's all we do. That's all we measure. That's all we do every single day.
Insane. You have started Amazon in India technically along with that team, right? What is the most counterintuitive insight you've had about the Indian market? Something that nobody, even your peers, might not believe in.
I think that one insight that's common with India and many other markets we get in is this phrase that India is different.
Yeah.
And it sort of goes back to what I just said. When we kind of launched here, we were like, oh, you don't know India. India is different. And we found Indians exactly the same as the rest of the world. They love selection, they love lower prices, and they love fast delivery. So that whole notion of starting a business where you forget the root of what you stand for and you try to figure out what's different is very risky. Now, how you get there is different in India. How you offer large selection and low prices and fast delivery could be different in India because traffic is different, regulations are different. Out here we have to digitize small, medium businesses to get selection. Supply chains are different. Logistics are different. We didn't have a payment infrastructure. UPI kind of took off after we launched. So the means changes, but I think the most counterintuitive insight, and thanks we didn't listen to a lot of people, is India is exactly the same as the rest of the world on the things that matter most to customers.
Yeah, I think the message I'm getting back from that is humans are pretty much the same. Their behaviors across the world.
The most important thing is all humans are the same across the world. And that's such a big simplifier for a global company that while we can focus on local innovation, for the most important things, just direct all your energy on the 3 factors that people care about.
And the 3 factors are the largest selection, the lowest prices, and the fastest delivery.
For our business. That could be different for some other business.
Yeah. I want to talk about the third part of this, right? The fastest deliveries. And I don't think this would have been a I mean, this is of course an awesome conversation, but I think the question, the big elephant in the room is, what about quick commerce? You have competitors now. There's a lot of talk about other people doing quick commerce. Everyone's getting in. And Amazon stayed kind of mum on this. Like, I've heard some news, but I want to hear it from you.
It's not the elephant in the room. It's very natural. I think if we were sitting here 30 years later, and we said that there exists a way for customers to get more selection or bet lower prices or faster delivery, it is very obvious that customers would find that interesting. So, and I just said that's what customers care about, and we are seeing that for a small segment of selection where customers can get faster speed, they're responding to it in much the same way that there might be somebody who offers very large segment of selection that's unbranded at dramatically lower prices but poorer convenience. People might appeal to that might appeal to customers as well. Now, when I think about Amazon, because of our focus on the three pillars, we've always focused on offering the largest selection to customers at faster speeds, and which means that we have built a national supply chain that offers more than 100 million products. But when you look at Prime members, they can get at least 4 million products shipped next day. And they get at least 1 million products that are eligible for shipping same day. And there are at least a few 100,000 products that ship in a few hours. And so it's natural for us to ask ourselves, then should we take the most popular products of that set and ship it in a few minutes? And you're right that customers are responding to it. So we are also very excited about extending that service to our customers. So starting this month, sometime this month, we would start piloting the service in Bangalore.
And it's called Taze, right?
We haven't decided the name. I think people are coming to me and saying that's the name. If people like it, I'll take it back to my team. But they haven't shared their ideas with me, so I would hold on.
So Amit, I have another question for you, which is on digitization. I think as the Amazon India story has played out, a lot of things have been thrown your way, right? Some good, like UPI, and some, challenging, like regulation and things like that. And I think you have taken all of it and made something beautiful out of it. Tell me, how is this played out? Like, tell me how the digitization story of Amazon India has played out.
Well, I think the digitization story of India, if you think about when we started, overlaps with the digitization story of India. So the whole investment, which is very impressive how India leaned into creating this whole India stack, digital identity, digital payments, and the foundational infrastructure that made it inclusive, brought Indians into the digital ecosystem, was a big tailwind for our business. It allowed us to get sellers, it allowed us to sign them up, and then followed that with GST, which created a uniform tax code, which is also a part of, some of these things are not given enough credit. Sometimes when you think of just digitization, you think of technology, but this back-end processes of just having interstate taxes was a huge simplifier. And to add to that, I would say just the plummeting of what it costs per gigabyte for data in India. All of these three things acting together was a huge tailwind as we grew, as we brought more and more into our ecosystem. And I think that's pretty impressive what India has done. And as it kind of thinks forward, a trend that you might probably get into AI as well. I'm very impressed again with how the government is proactively leaning in with the idea of AI for all. It requires a lot of courage and foresight, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I think Gen AI in commerce is a little bit tricky because it's a double-edged sword, right? On one end, it allows things like for your customers, like summaries, right? On the other end, there can also be misuse, right? Where somebody can go generate an AI-generated image of their product, which might not end up being what the real product is like. And I think, if you see in food delivery, there's some businesses that have said, well, we don't want to allow AI-generated images. I want to know your thoughts on this. Like, how do you handle the beast, both the positives and the negatives?
I think you want to focus on what's possible and then figure out how to weed out the bad actors, then to design it for the bad actors and figure out how to let the good ones come in.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you should just imagine that the whole world is good.
Yeah.
And then
Trust first.
And then just good things come out of it. And then there would be some bad actors. How do we deal with it? So that's kind of our approach to all of this. The bad actors are a very, very small percentage of well-intentioned people wanting to run their livelihood on the company. And then when you think about that, Gen AI is a huge enabler. Uh, you know, we tested our Gen AI conversational chatbot, which is more targeted to consumers to make it more helpful for customers to find the product that they're looking for. It's called Rufus. And we have found that in just the last few weeks since we launched in India, it's been used by 10 million customers.
Wow.
So it's clearly that people, and this is just basic chat. You can imagine talking to it. You can imagine a lot more enhancement that we could do. On the seller side, there's actually in the Sambhav, this area there, we have put a booth out here for sellers to experience for themselves. When you want to list a product, you can simply take an image of the product. Gen AI can look at the attributes of the product, create a picture for you, create the bullet points, create a summary, help you kind of clean up some of the things that you have. You can use the Amazon Ads Gen AI plugins to showcase your product in the light that you want. So you could come up with a Diwali theme, you could come up with a theme of the product in a different setting. And then there is the seller assistant part of it where you could seek out assistant both to get started, both to get information, but also just find success on the platform by being able to talk to somebody that can tell you what to do to drive sales. So all of these are really impactful for that they can be really impactful for sellers and customers. So I kind of think of it as when you're trying to get, especially in a country like India where there is so much diversity, there are so much diversity of skills, languages, cultures, and so on, AI can be a big needle mover.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see that. I think it makes everyone's lives easy. It allows a seller to generate more creatives. And I think I hope we'll see a lot of personalized, I have a product, but I want to make it look prettier. I think we may see some of that. That's pretty enjoyable. Amit, I have one last question for you, and it's a personal question. You have been at Amazon for 25 years. That's a very long time. To give you context, the company we run now has about 240 employees.
By the way, it feels like day one to me still after 25 years.
Yeah, I hear it. I hear about this day one thing a lot from a lot of Amazonians, and we must touch upon that. But you've been at Amazon for 25 years, and we're about 240 people now. And one of the questions that I've started learning that young people ask very often is, am I doing the right thing? Should I be in this company? Should I be somewhere else? Should I go to study something and do something else after that? Or should I be in a very, very early stage startup? There's so many options. The world is a nice pool of options at this point. And all seem attractive and all seem good. And the question is, you've been at Amazon for 25 years. You have been there rock steady. And I think you are the best example of compound interest in some ways, right? And I would love for you to tell us, if you were starting again and you had these confusions, how would you play your career out?
Yeah, I think I would probably land up doing the same. I'm in general a big fan of marathons versus sprints. And the reason for that is I feel time is a big lever. So if you kind of just ask yourself about, firstly, you need to identify a problem statement that you're passionate about. Because I think if you don't find the starting point, then you would obviously change and try to find a place to settle in where you are. So, but if you love the vision of what you are doing, if you love the purpose of what you're engaging in, and if you love the people that you are surrounded by, then I think just having the luxury of time and just spending time, as you said, can lead to significant compounding of your ideas. There's this thought experiment that one can do, that if I had an idea and if I gave myself 6 months, what could I achieve out of it? Versus if I gave myself 6 years, versus if I gave myself 60 years. And I think you would come up with very dramatically different business plans if you had the luxury to spend more time. And I feel people sometimes don't give themselves enough time. They're too much in a hurry to get to the output. And they miss that degree of compounding that you're referring to. So I feel that I like to be associated with durable visions, with great people. But then once I find that, I love the idea of just spending time. And spending time obsessing with customers, inventing on their behalf, thinking long term, just gives you a dramatically different lever to make big things happen.
Yeah, and I think you also build, inside the company, you build so much leverage and so much trust that now you can try the ideas you really want.
But that's an
to.
output. that was not how it started.
Yeah.
And that does require, that's a part of the output that you get out of the compounding that you're referring to.
Very interesting. This was, I know this was short, but this was probably one of the best conversations I've had in the last few months. Mainly because I think you just see, I can tell, right? You're very customer focused and it's very inspiring. And I think if there's one takeaway that I should take back from this is like, go do even more homework on the customers and, try to be the best solution out there for them.
No, I think it was fun talking to you. It was very, thank you for taking time and spending time with me talking about this.
Thank you. All right, guys, subscribe. Bye.